Thanks for joining me. Looking forward to you all and your questions. And hopefully we'll have a great talk here. Talking about the slow season that we all get involved in at this time. So this is a terrible winter after the winter weather comes in. Oh, and some crazy weather going up in the north there. Absolutely crazy. So that's an interesting story we can talk about as well. Whether that will actually bring us some work, maybe some winter wonderland snowstorms to step into. Who knows? So, who knows? We will find out. So, anyways, well, welcome, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I'm so glad that you guys have joined me on this live. Excited to hear your thoughts about what's going on in the world of adjusting as we head into the slowest season of the year, which is really the fall. Right after hurricane season ends, we really start to see things slow down. Thanksgiving and Christmas. Though those that have had multiple hailstorms for the summer are going to find that they're still actually going to be inspecting roofs unless they can't get on the roof because of snow cut or whatever. But if they are working in an area where snow is not on the roof, then you can expect that you're going to continue to receive claims even well in the wintertime and into the spring as you continue to inspect. So that's pretty cool. Hey, Curtis, welcome. So glad to see you again. Thanks for coming. I think you got in here a little quicker this time than you did last time, so good. All right, well, I hope you're doing well. Is it cold up in Virginia, or is it colder here in North Carolina? We were at 28 this morning, so totally cold for me. I don't like the cold weather. So, anyways, so you guys are doing good. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. A chance to be able to be thankful for how you've been blessed this year, whether it's through work or through vacation or through friends and family or health. There's always something to be thankful for, and we certainly need to, even the tough times, remember how good and blessed we are, because it could be worse. We could have major medical problems. We could be hurt. We could be, had fallen off a roof. We could have done a lot of things that could really mess us up. We could have family members that have passed that we didn't expect maybe too soon, or a child got injured, or maybe you're going through a divorce. There's lots of things that it can be worse than it is. But somehow we are blessed every day with the things that we get, and sometimes we're blessed with things we don't deserve. So it is time to be thankful for everything. I'm thankful for you guys that watch me and comment on my videos. I'm blessed by this channel every day, and I mean every day. I receive positive comments from so many people about this channel, and you guys are just such a blessing to me. In the 40s, yeah, well that's still cold. Yeah, I think we hit maybe 50 today. I don't think we even went that high. I think we're probably in the 40s as well as far as our high, but it was cold. It was in the 20s. So, yeah, so guys, you guys got any questions? I don't know who else is here. We got some people here. Introduce yourself if you're on the live. I won't pinpoint you and ask you questions, but I'd love to know who's here. Anybody want to say hello and where you're from? And hopefully it wasn't too short a notice for people. As we got started on this live, I gave about an hour's notice. I'm going to try and do it about every Sunday, I'm thinking, at 4. Louisiana, Adam, welcome. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Yeah, I lived in Covington for a little bit. Not very long, only about 6 months. And then I ended up getting a job somewhere else, so I moved on. So yeah, Covington, great lake. What is it, Okajaki or something? Some weird name for the lakes that have the weird Indian names, I think, or what are they called? Parish names. Yeah. So, anyways, so I was going to talk today about what to do in the slow periods. To me, this is something that happens every year. So it's something to be prepared for, whether it's slow from the entire year, from claims that you just didn't get, or maybe you lost a carrier. I know I lost a carrier last year, just out of the blue. I just wasn't getting any claims from them anymore, and I was surprised, and then I found out they went out of business. So UPC insurance went under freezing in Florida. And so I lost about 4 claims maybe a week from them. When you multiply that by 52 weeks, that's a bunch of work. And I did see a dramatic drop in my income from losing that carrier. Just as, that's the amount of claims that you lose. What is that, 52 times 150 claims, 160, almost 200 claims, average claims like $3 or something like that. So you could be looking at, a $6,000 drop in your income, and you're wondering where that went. And who likes to throw away $6,000? So sometimes you'll lose a carrier, and so then you'll have to go back to the rosters. And speaking of rosters, that's going to be one of the number things that I would suggest to you guys if you are in your slow season, is to start work on getting your roster participation up, meaning the amount of firms that you have got under your belt there or signed up on their rosters. It's time to sign up for more because what will happen is some will move away, meaning they won't have as many claims as you thought, or they maybe they found another adjuster and somebody else besides you. That's a common problem that happens. And then also management changes. Sometimes they get bought up by another firm, and then no longer are you on that roster. Now they contact you from the prior roster list and say, hey, I just want to tell you that this company has bought this firm, and would you like to join this roster? Well, then you got to fill out the new paperwork for the new company, and that's good because if they do want to help you find work, that's always something too. But working on those rosters, getting your name listed on lots and lots of rosters will guarantee you some work in the spring, and that's why I think fall, when you have time, this is the time to be filling out the firm applications to get on the list. And you want to have about 20 or 30 of your belt so that you are ready for when spring comes, when season starts in, that these guys are going to be able to give you a call and say, hey, we got a ton of work. Storm hits and all of a sudden you got a ton of work. Well, if you're not on the roster, it's hard to get work. So that's going to be your primary thing. Just kind of going back and maybe calling up some of them again and saying, hey, just double check any claims from you this past year, yet I'm on your roster. I just wanted to make sure you guys are still dealing with claims in whatever city you happen to be in. And it doesn't hurt to give them a call and follow up with that, just to make sure that you're still active on their roster for getting claims. So that's going to be a big plus. Call them. Go over to catadjuster.org if you don't have a list of firms that you need to get on. There's, I don't know how many up there, 400 or 500 maybe listed. Man, I don't know if there's that many, but there's a lot. So you go there and start they'll have a little link, and you can get the application sent to you, and you fill it out and get that turned in, get signed up to a bunch more rosters. So that's going to be how you're going to find work. The other way is to update your resume with the past year's work. So one thing I recognize is that every year, because the people I'm working for changes, I may be picking up a new carrier that I didn't have, or even some more experience. Maybe it's commercial or industrial or whatever you happen to pick up, you didn't have the prior year, then you want your resume to be updated. So go back into your resume, add some more of that experience down at the bottom, or a new employer, like a new firm that you were joining in, new insurance company you're working for, new continuing education classes that you took. I have a whole section at the bottom of my resume that is every continuing education class that I have taken over the course of 11 years. If it's not the same one or similar, I will add that to my resume list. And so when they go back and look at my resume, they'll be able to see at the bottom of the resume with all these extra courses in order to, now I don't have to tell them they're continuing education. I just say, hey, I took this course, and this is the knowledge I received on that course. And you wouldn't believe, when you start listing out all this continuing education, because it looks pretty impressive at the bottom of your resume, saying that you're continually learning, continually on new courses. And even though they're required, it's kind of nice to put that at the bottom of your resume. So update your resume with your experience, with, you can maybe even put in the level of claims you've handled. You can say, now I've handled 5,000 property claims, or now I've handled 6,000. Whatever happens, tone of, hey, I've done a lot here since the last time you got my resume, and now I'm giving you an updated resume, and then you're going to make people feel very interested in you as that you're continuing to get better and better. And you have to also remember, if time has passed and you have not worked for this firm in a long time, they're not really sure you're still adjusting, because in this business, there's a huge turnover. And there's a lot of adjusters that quit, there's a lot of adjusters that go part-time, and then eventually they stop working, or there's some new ones that come in and then they start becoming full-time. So firms really don't have a clue who's active and not, unless they're calling on a regular basis saying, hey, you still want to get claims from us. So it's good to call them in, say, hey, I just updated my resume, I wanted to upload that to you, send it to you by email, whatever. What's a good email address? Maybe they'll send you their, what do they call it, their the web search page where you can update, the portal where you can update your resume on file. So that also comes as a big flag to the person who handles the deployments or disbursements of claims, because if they finally get your, you got a new resume and they don't remember you, they're going to review that resume and go, dang, this guy's been doing claims for 5, 10, 15 years, whatever, and we don't even have him handling any of our claims. So it's a great way to find work that way too. So, all right, Curtis, I'm completely new, with no experience yet. I will not be ready to get started until after the first year sometime. What do you suggest I do? Okay, good idea. So yeah, so I don't know what kind of level you are as far as skills of training though. So if you've got any carrier training like State Farm, any type of like Liberty Mutual, these are certifications that you have in order to be able to handle those claims. So it's great to schedule a class and go get certified in those. You can also get auto certified, great, for State Farm, and you can pop in and start doing work for auto. That happens all year round. There's auto work all year round. Think about it. How many cars are now sitting on the side of the road up in the north, stranded in some drift somewhere, damaged or, run into by a trucker or something like that? Well, all those cars are handled in the insurance world on the insurance side, total loss or damages or whatever. Those are claims. So in the auto business, you can stay busy all around no matter what, because everybody's got 2 cars or more and in a family. And that means not just one house, you got 2 and 3 cars in one house, multiplied by however many houses are in the world and how many people are having State Farm insurance. So it's a great certification to get, your auto certification, because if you're not working and you want to work, it's a great way to get work. Yeah, so Texas and Oklahoma, great. So start working on some other licenses. So Florida is an awesome one to have. Got to remember, hurricanes almost always hit Florida. Texas is great. You've got your Alabama down there. You've got Georgia, tons of work in Georgia this last storm with Hurricane Milton. And then your other coastals, North Carolina and South Carolina. So start working on all these coastal states, because that's hurricane season and hail season. So you've got a ton of hail. Indiana's got a ton of hail. Minnesota's got hail. Minnesota's probably one of the first states that I will get deployed to for hail in the spring, because you gotta remember, they're dealing with that super cold transfer of whenever there's a warm front or a cool front, it changes really quickly between Canada and the United States. So we start warming up here, and then it's gonna clash with the northern cold. So that's one of the first places we'll start to see some big hail. Also, Colorado, that's frozen. Texas gets to be 80 degrees by Christmas, and you got some major conflict in temperature there. So we're going to see northern Texas with a ton of hailstorms that's going to come first. So that's how it works. You got to remember, hail has to have that really significant weather change between the cold and hot and the clashes of those 2 lines in order to create that front. And that's why the thunderstorms happen, is the transfer between, or the friction between the cold and the hot. So look at the states that do that. But yeah, gather some more licenses. And hey, DV8, welcome back. Absolutely, I remember you from last time. All right, so hope well, yeah, chat, hope things are well. Yep, also, yes, things are good. Like I was just saying, you missed it at the beginning. I was just talking about how thankful I am for so many things this year. It's time to reflect back and just say, hey, it's been a good year. It's been a good year. I couldn't have said that if we hadn't had Milton or Helene. I hate to be, the person is excited about damage, but that's our business, guys. We thrive on bad weather. And I know you're going to seem kind of weird to the people that are around you because you're getting excited when a thunderstorm happens in the area. You're getting excited when, hurricanes brewing or hail that's coming in. I mean, hail doesn't kill anybody. It does kill some cows. So you got to, that's part of life. But it generally doesn't kill anybody. So I love hailstorms for the amount of damage it does. Because it does bring us a ton of work and a ton of long-term work. So actually hail season is my favorite time of year. It can create work for the rest of the year if you have a really, really big storm in April in your area, and you could be living at home and then, literally have hail damage for the next 2 years in that storm. So it's really good. Other things you can do besides just getting licenses and training is going to be see if there's some people like, I don't know, you said Virginia, right, Curtis? Look on, I don't know if you've been on my Discord, because I got a nice big chat group there. There's 300 or 400 people on that chat group. My link in the description also. Join the Discord and see if you can find out where everybody's from, and just say, hey, I'm from Virginia. Where's anybody from? Anybody in Virginia in the chat? Because sometimes you can do a ride along with, if you find somebody who's local, and just kind of get a feel for what they do during the inspections. Those are invaluable things to do in your off season when you're just looking for something to do, and you say, hey, can I hang out with you for a couple hours and do some inspections with you in the morning or in the afternoon, wherever they do them. And it's valuable information. Also, another option that I've seen some guys do that are just getting started in the industry is go work for a ladder assist company, and possibly say, hey, I'm trying to get some experience climbing roofs. Maybe you're not really comfortable with it. A lot of the ladder assist companies, you can ride along with somebody, you can use their safety gear. A lot of times they provide all the safety gear for you, and you can learn to be an assist on a ladder, but it'll also get you some great experience kind of seeing the damage that's on roofs, and then also climbing roofs and not comfortable with them, because the more experience you get climbing the roofs, the better you'll be as an adjuster. So you got to think of it as like, if I don't have the comfort level that I want to have with climbing roofs, or I don't know materials enough for the house to write an estimate, then figure out how you can get that training. Following along somebody else, going to a construction site, just looking to see how houses are built when they're in the bare walls, so you can see what's behind the wall. That can teach you a ton about how a house is built, so that when you walk into a house that's done, then you know what's behind that wall without having to tear it all apart. So if you weren't brought up in the construction industry like I was, this is all new. And you're like, well, what's behind the wall? I've never looked behind a wall. Well, go to a construction site and you'll be able to see all that. That's really helpful. Oh yeah, so there you go, Curtis. You've got the skills there. They're totally awesome in construction. Yeah, that's invaluable skills that will go a whole long way. And it's the same thing with a guy who gets in the auto business if he was a mechanic and he understands how cars are built, or things, how to repair them. I never was really good at that. So that you could be an auto adjuster by being a mechanic, and you drop right in a day, and you probably, they'd eat you up in a minute if they found out you were a mechanic and had that experience. All right, so best way to inspect ice dam when it dries. Yeah, so L. Duke, yes, absolutely. So when I got deployed to a winter storm one time, and it was kind of interesting because I normally don't want to go to them because they're kind of frustrating. Number one, trees are down. Number two, there's too much snow on the road, you can't get around. And number three, the houses are covered in snow and you can't inspect anything. You got a tree on a house and the house has got 2 feet of snow on it. How are you expecting to find the damage? And that's a really frustrating thing, because you spend so much time trying to get to the house, and then you really can't do a full inspection, and literally you're writing a report to say, hey, re-inspection needed in the spring when everything thaws. So ice dams, you can interior damage. Now, for those who don't know ice dams, that's basically where the part that there's snow on the roof, it comes down to the overhang eave. And because the eave is colder than the inside of the house, because the inside house has got heat escaping up through the attic, it melts the water on the roof system. It dribbles down, but then as soon as it hits the overhang, it freezes. And if that water happens to penetrate the shingles, which typically it does, because now you've got all that standing water that's getting trapped by the snow, it's got a place to go. That water is going to make its way up underneath the shingles, underneath the plywood, and eventually into the house. And could potentially be in the overhang, but what it does is it blows it up. You know, it starts to freeze that water, and obviously water expands when it gets frozen. So you've got an issue where it's starting to create rot, it's starting to create, they call it an ice dam, or basically a water dam that freezes. That water can then back up into the house and run inside. So then when you look inside and you're looking up a roof line inside the kitchen or where, you know, when you up near the ceiling, you've got this big soppy wet area that's, the drywall is all getting wet, and that's because that was backing up into the house, and then you've got water damage. So as an adjuster, the only thing you can write up for is possibly the inside damage, a drywall repair, insulation repair, and you know, paint the rooms. So as far as the outside, you can't see any of that. And a lot of the times, a lot of that damage is not going to be covered for damages that are caused by it. It's all depending on the policy. The policy is going to dictate that, but I have seen multiple times where they have denied that coverage for the water that damages the roof line just because there's too much snow up there and they can't control that. It's not really sudden. It's something that kind of happens over a period of time. So that's kind of a tricky one, but certainly can do the interior damage, and that's just a simple drywall repair, and a lot of times deductible, which is kind of a bummer. But oh, Datril, nice to see you again. So glad you guys are coming back for the annoyance, right? No, so I'm glad you guys are here. Like I said, this channel thrives because you guys keep coming back and seeing me and talking. So, all right, setting all my notifications, notify me anything post from community. Oh, very good. I hit the bell, guys. The bell, I didn't know this until I got channel, but there is a bell there that you can have a notification sent to you whenever I post something, whether it's through the community. I post quite regularly in the community, and I post also to my private group. I have some people that are members, and they get private things that are sent to them just for them. So if you want to join my private group, it's not much, very little expense, but you can certainly get a few little extras that I don't share with everybody else. I've been working very diligently since I got back on my level 1, level 2 certification. Stream keeps buffering. Yeah, I just saw that. I don't know why it's doing that. There is no reason, because I have crazy internet speed. Let's see what I got for internet speed. Let's do a speed test real quick. I don't think I have issues with internet, so let's see. Let me see. Let's do a speed test just in case there's something going on here. Now we're at like 180 megabits per second, so I don't think I got an issue on my side. Yeah, so yeah, okay, maybe if something's dragging, we can figure it out, but I don't think anything on my end. YouTube could be doing it, who knows? They could be saying, hey, I'm not a valuable asset, they're gonna slow me down. So somebody else is sharing better content. Who knows? All right, so so level one and level 2 certification class is the class that you have to put. You have to put a test into the, in order to get the certification. This is why it's so important to put it on your resume, guys. You have to have level 1 and level 2 if you want to even be considered by the firms as somebody that is knowledgeable enough in Xactimate to start handling claims. So if you don't have that on your resume, you're kind of hindering yourself from potentially receiving claims, because they would rather take somebody that's an experienced adjuster, even if they don't have experience working claims. But that level 1 and level 2 is saying, I've got experience in the software, I got no problems with software, you know, we're gonna do wonderful. And so they will feel more comfortable assigning a claim to you. Now, what I'm doing, and a lot of people have, I mean, there's a lot of them out there, but Xactware is the only company that gives that certification. Xactware is the company that created Xactimate. So they're saying, hey, if you pass our tests, then we will give you the certification. Now, that's impressive in one respect, but very, very hard for the person trying to pass that test. Because if the creator is giving the test, then obviously you got to know this software really well. And that's why level 1 and level 2 is very hard. So if you're going to go in there and try and take that test, you're going to fail it. I can guarantee you 100% you're going to fail it. If I find one person that passed a test without taking any type of prep, I would like to meet them and shake their hand, because that's pretty impressive. They obviously were probably taking the course or playing around with Xactimate for a long time before they took the exam. You can do it if you've been using this software, but for somebody brand new, you're gonna need to take a self-prep course in order to help you get ready for it. So what I decided to do, and it's been a long time in the making. I mean, I've had this channel for 3 years, and you know, everybody's been asking me, but I just didn't feel qualified to do it. Meaning, I wanted to see how the channel would go and kind of feel like my knowledge has moved up quite a bit with Xactimate. So I've been using Xactimate now for 9 years and feel very confident that I know the program well enough. So what I decided to do was do my own type of self-help teaching, which is a combination. It's not just level 1 and 2 certification information, but it's also real life adjuster training with that as well. Meaning, yes, I can learn what the button do. I can learn all the buttons on Xactimate, all the places where you can do things. I can learn that software in a heartbeat, but I won't know to use it. And the reason why I explain this to you is because when I first became an adjuster, I did study the course. I took a prep course, I took the exam, and I passed it, and I was able to get my level 1 and level 2 certification. But when I was deployed on my first catastrophe, I felt like I did not know this program worth nothing, because I didn't know in the real world how to use the program in the aspect of actually building an estimate. So I'm learning from my mistake of training, meaning I don't think I really was trained well enough when I first learned it, and I had to stumble through it for several years. So what I decided to do is create a combination course that's going to say, okay, here's the program, here's how it works, but this is when you're going to use the button. This is when you're going to use this tool. This is when you do this. And so it's going to be like 9 or 10 videos on level 1, about an hour long each one. And then the second, I think, is more. It's like 14 videos, an hour long. And it's going to encompass adjusting stuff, kind of like an adjuster training course, but Xactimate centered. And that's come. So I've been working on that. I'm almost done level 1, and I think I'll probably release level 1 certification first before I get finished making all the videos for level 2. Just because it's taking me so long to create these videos, I don't want to delay it out there for you guys. And this is the time to learn. The fall is real time to get to learn this program, master it, and then be ready for the spring when we get in there. Level 1, easy. Level isn't terrible, but it's annoying. Level 2, okay, probably you can do them both in a week with focus, few weeks slacking. Yeah, I mean, some people have a really good time doing it. I've had a lot of people that have told me it's really hard. Okay, so we've got some buffering still. If you've never used Xactimate, you definitely need to do training prior to testing. Yes, absolutely. Totally agree with you on that. Preach! You know my Xactimate story well. Yeah, I think a lot of people do this thinking that, hey, if I took level 1 and level 2 prep course, I was going to be an ace and I knew how to program. Not so good, not so good. So I hate that for you guys, because it's, you know, that's not what they tell us when we go through these prep courses. And personally, I thought, if I look back at it, and I'm not going to name the company that I took it from, they are using this in a very large way to make a ton of money to train people to get into this program. Because I was sitting in a class of 150, 200 people, all paying a large amount of money in order to learn this. And then to still come, yes, I did pass the course. Well, great. Well, if that's the only reason you passed the course, just for somebody telling you how to use it, it didn't help me. I mean, it really did not. I felt like I could pull my hair out when I was in the middle of the catastrophe, and my file reviewer hated me. He was like, "Don't you know this software? Don't you know how to write an estimate?" And it was like, "Well, I thought I did, but I didn't." And and he's telling me things on the correction that I didn't have a clue in Xactimate where they were, like how to fix the problem I was having with my estimate. So, and he wasn't going to teach me. He was just mad at me. And so it was a miserable experience, and I just didn't want people to have to go through that. So coming up, so stay tuned for that. I think you guys will like it. I'm charging $99 a month for access to level 1 and $99 a month for level 2. So typical cost for this program is about $400 on the internet, and if you apply yourself, you'll be able to do it for $200. So just 2 months, a month for the first one, a month for the second one, or you cram them in and knock it out 1 month. But well, it's either way, it's going to cost you $200. You got to buy the level 1 and the level 2, but you can do it as fast as you want. So in 2 months, you could probably be totally ready if you put some time into it. But yeah, I felt like that was their way to do it. And then it's a refresher course for those that want to come back and rent it for another month, and then check out all the other videos if you feel like you're lacking in an area, and then give yourself a refresher course. Or for those who want to learn it, but then maybe it's 3 to 6 months before you ever get deployed, and then you want it like right before you get deployed, just want to do a little refresher course before you get out there. I think it's going to be very helpful for you guys. So let me know what you think in the comments, if you think it's a good idea that way, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, so let's go back to talking about what to do in the slow season. One of the big things I do personally is I get my car all up to date. It's so funny, I was down in Florida for this hurricane, and my little light on the dash comes on for my tire gauge stuff. It's a tire pressure thing, saying that one of my tires low. And so I'm like, oh, great. Just wouldn't you figure it? A catastrophe, and now I got something in my tire. So I'm thinking I got a flat tire, I got a nail or something like that. So I go around, and sure enough, one of my tires was a little low. And, I don't know nothing about tires. I just figure, hey, we got a nail in it. So I go to Firestone. I got this maintenance plan set up with them. So I go into them, and I say, hey, I got a leak in my tire. It had 25 pounds in it, and I'm supposed to have 32 or 33. Check it out. Well, he goes through the whole thing, does this little spray bottle thing, soapy water, and he says, no, there's no leak in any of the tires. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Said it was down in air. And he goes, well, I don't know. So anyways, I said, is there any way you can check it? And he goes, well, we can take the tire off and dunk it in some water and see if we, got a leak that way. So he does that, no leak here. I'm like, that is so bizarre. So then he plugs in his little, what do you call that thing, sensor thing or reader or whatever, and finds out that my batteries in the tire somewhere that are sending to these sensors were out. I had 2 batteries were low that are supposed to give you that indication of whether the tire pressure is not. I don't know anything about it. But anyways, so that's something I've got to do. And sure, what happens in January is my car comes up for inspection. So that's another thing for off-season. As I get my inspection done, I've got to go get this tire battery thing figured out first. Then I'll rotate my tires, get my oil changes, get inspections, do all that stuff, get everything ready for the season so that by the spring, I don't have any issues. And then other things go, like if you have other issues with your car, I mean, there are lots of things. Maybe your air conditioning went out, or maybe it's not blown cool. Maybe you got to get it pumped up and get a AC adjustment on that. Maybe your heater's not working well. I mean, there's lots of things that can happen to cars. Windshield wipers need to be swapped out. I've got this film that's building up on my front headlights that makes everything dull now. I don't know what that gunk is that's on it, but yeah, I've got to clean the headlights. So car maintenance is another great thing. When things are slow, get your car maintenance done, get your inspections done. They're not expiring during season, during hurricane season, during hail season. Last thing you want is your inspection sticker come due while you're on a catastrophe, and you might be 2 months before you get back. Somebody pulls you over for an expired license tag or whatever, all the different things. So I always try to schedule everything for the first year go ahead and renew my license, renew, everything. And then they make that a new month that everything comes due by. Yeah, maybe I lose 3 or 4 months than I would have if it's in the middle of the year. But I renew it on January 1st or real close to it, so that I know that every year, every time it comes due, it's always going to be due. And that way I don't have anything expiring while I'm out on storm zone. So those are big pluses. I talked about this as far as resume. Make sure your resume is up to date. Get on some rosters. Update profile on catadjuster.org. That's important. I don't know if you guys are on that, but create a profile. Make sure you're going back every couple weeks, 3 weeks, and just making a small change to it. And the reason why is it bumps you up to the top of their suggested list for adjusters in your state. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're at the bottom of the list and no one's ever going to call you. And just for your information, I get quite a bit of work off of that. The firms do look at that directory that's on there, and they do call people based on the state that you live in and ask you to handle claims. So definitely a place to find work is on catadjuster.org. All right, anybody else have any questions? Is the thing buffering anymore, or does it seem like it's better? Oh, that's crazy. Oh man, that's so sad. Yeah, well, I learned my lesson several years ago when I did that, because yeah, the worst thing in the world is having a car break down when you've got loaded claims and you get something going on with your car. So you baby the car in the off season, you take care of it, you do everything you need to get done. You go have them checked out. You check for any oil leaks. You get your brake check. You get your brakes checked. Make sure you get your brake pads replaced before the season. Do that. I mean, all these things, guys. You look at your tire wear, and if you got, if you talk to the guy and he says, "Oh, you might get 3 more months out of that tire," put that new tire on. Don't even wait for the 3 months, and that way you're ready to go for hail season. It's not. Guys, it's crazy out there. There's so much debris and there's so much stuff out there. If you've got bald tires, you're going to end up with a flat tire in 5 minutes out there running over debris if your tires don't have any tread on them. So those are huge. Let me think. What else can we talk about? Yes, proactive, definitely. Oh, you're still running Milton claim. Very cool. Yeah, I was in Orlando. I was working Universal North America claims, and they basically dried up. They gave me about 80 claims down there, and by the end of the time, they ended up slowing down such that I finally I talked to my manager, and I just was saying, "Hey, things seem to be slowing down. You got any more?" And he says, "No, they're really kind of piddling out." So I just kind of took it as a sign to head out, and I went on a cruise. So, oh yeah, okay, Augusta. Yeah, I was up in Greenville, South Carolina. Started there with Helene claims, and I got about 40 up there, or down there, and those were in the southern North Carolina. And the problem was I couldn't get anywhere. A lot of the roads were out, the bridges were out, they were washed away. You can check a couple of my videos that I sent from that area, but the bridges were out. I mean, they had washed away the bridges. And oh yeah, Tampa, yeah, you're gonna be killing it down there for a while if you're in that Tampa area. I asked to go to Tampa, and he said coverage. Or Lakeview, I think, is even further down, a little bit inland, a little bit from Tampa. I even asked to go down there, and Columbia. And he said, we got everything covered. So I think, see, we got to remember on a catastrophe deployment, unless they've totally assigned you, gave you 100 at a time or something like that, if they've given you a little bit of time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, they're just looking for people to handle the claims, to help the daily guys catch up. You got to remember, in each one of those scenarios that if we go in from out of state to an area, the daily guys are handling a boatload of claims themselves. And they may be totally swamped and be 3 weeks out before they can. And the carrier doesn't like that delay. So what they'll do is they'll bring a catastrophe adjuster, give them 40 claims, and say, okay, you can handle 3 weeks of claims, and then this guy will help them catch up. Well, if I'm booked for 3 weeks as a guy who came in, and they still are getting claims in, they're going to bring another guy, and they're going to say, hey, can you handle 40 claims or 50 claims? So that's how it works. But when I got done after doing 80, it was like, I don't have really that much to get you. I'm only getting 1 or 2 in a day. A lot of times they're just going to give those over to the daily adjuster because he's caught up a little bit. And so I'm just not going to have a group of claims. He's not going to be able to give me like 10 more at a time. He's only going to be able to give me a couple at a time. So what happened was I was like there on Monday and I had claims booked through Wednesday. And so then I said, I'm going to be done on Wednesday. Do you got any more? And he goes, well, I'll see if I can find you some. And he gave me like 3 or 4 more, got them done on Thursday, and then 1 on Friday, and then 1 on Saturday. And I was like, this is not good. I'm not going to hang out for just 1 claim. And so that's ultimately what I said to him. Is I said, well, it looks like we're slowing down enough here that maybe we're probably done. And he said, yeah, I think we're done. We're just not getting the volume in. And you got to remember, Universal North America is a smaller insurance company. It was good to work for them. But say Progressive or State Farm or Liberty Mutual or USAA, they're going to be, going to town forever. So they're going to have a lot. Okay, so I go to Florida now. If I got, maybe reach out to some companies, but it's like the 4th quarter now. Yeah, I think we're really slowing down for Florida. I think they're trying to push the daily guys back into it. Okay, so you live there. Oh yeah. Oh, if you live there, you're gonna get a ton of claims. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna definitely a ton of claims. And 80 never calling. I was in Bradenton working farm claims for 6 weeks through November 15th. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, State Farm was kind of down there for sure. Hey Daniel, can a company blackball you so to say if you don't do well at all? Datro, that's not a really common thing, but it does happen. Now let me tell you what happens. That's a good question, by the way. I have a friend of mine, I won't tell you his name, but he did that. He actually got into a little bit of hot water with a firm, just nothing terrible, but they basically put a flag on his profile, and then basically he would kind of like their last resort to call in the future. So it's not that they totally black you. Now, what they might do, and this is a totally different scenario, so let's say you were deployed with this carrier, you agreed with them to go on the catastrophe, and then they assigned you claims. Let's say they gave you 20, and then maybe you got a call from another adjusting firm and they said, we'll give you 100. And you call back the first firm and say, I'm sorry, I got your offer. You can reassign these claims back to you. I'm going with somebody else. That's a very good way to never, ever work as an adjuster for the rest of your life. Because trust me, that bad behavior gets around. What happens, and this is what I've noticed with some of the bigger firms, is those managers that were working one carrier, bigger firms handle 20, 30 insurance companies, and they need a manager to handle several of the insurance companies, but they move around. Okay, and what happens sometimes is those managers will move to another firm. And I've seen this more than once where that manager moved to another firm, this person went to apply to that firm and they said, no, man, you were a jerk at the last time when we had you over there. I'm not hiring you here. I'm not putting you on the roster here. And he couldn't get on that really good firm because he burned his bridges over there at the other firm. So please remember that this industry is extremely small. Extremely small. Being in it 11 years now, I saw people that I was working with in the auto industry that are now desk adjuster in property. And I've called on the phone, talked to the desk adjuster, and they recognized my voice and my name and said, Daniel, I can't believe it's you. And his name, and I was like, no way. And he goes, oh, I love your files. He says, I've been seeing your files all the time. I was wondering if it was you. And so sure enough, the guy I'm sitting next to at State Farm Auto in Maryland, and he was from Florida, and so now he's a Florida desk adjuster and handling some of the claims that I work. It's a really small world. Tons of managers I've seen cross across different platforms, different, and then, and they're all like, hey, why don't you come over here? And they can't because, they can't entice you to leave one firm to work for another. So they're all like, hey, if you ever want to get coffee, let me know. And, so they're all trying to solicit, solicit me to come over to their firm. But anyway, so that happens a lot. So yes, if you get a bad rep at one firm, it's a very possibility it can move around to the next. Just don't want to do it. It can really hurt you in the long run. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have emailed the CEO at that firm. Yeah, it can hurt you. It can hurt you in the long run. Definitely can. So just remember, it's just a very small industry. Just like, for instance, creators are there that are creating adjusting videos. Not a lot, guys. There's just not a lot of people out there doing what I do, and I run into a lot of people and people I don't even know down Florida, PAs that I ran into, and they've seen my channel. I mean, how is that possible? But they do. So it's a small world. So just see that in this world of adjusting is that you may be working for one firm today, but that might be a manager. You may be working alongside an adjuster, maybe even your local work or even in an office position, and he may be your manager one day. Happens all the time. Happens all the time. So yeah, it's good. It's good just to kind of, you got to remember also, guys, you're self-employed. You're creating your business. Your business is you. Okay, you are your entity. Okay, and now how do you want to be represented in the world of adjusting? Do you want to be seen, your firm, your company, your name, as a dependable source? Anybody can come to you, get you a claim, and you're going to do a great job. You're going to be dependable. You're going to get inspected the same day. Or maybe not inspected the same day, but within a few days, you're going to get inspected. You're going to get a report turned in the same day, and it's going to be clean with only a few minor revisions. I mean, that's the dream world of an adjuster firm, when they can find people like you that do this. So I just kind of see it as, I'm going to try my best to create myself product that is worthy of just making everyone happy with it, so that it can always be a benefit to a firm to hire me. If they don't use me, when they use me, or they get even a referral from somebody else and saying, hey, you should use this guy, he's really good. I love that. And so you got to create that way. So the same thing goes for your professional behavior. When you're standing in front of the customer, and the last thing you want to do is have them say, that guy was rude, or he looked like he didn't care, he looked like he was tired. That'll get back to the agent. Here's a huge red flag that happens awful lot, is you got an insured who has been insured for 30 years with this one agent, and you come in with a bad attitude, or maybe you're not talking respectful, or you badmouth a contract or whatever. Well, that person, their only point of contact is you and their agent. So if that person gets frustrated with you enough, they're going to contact the agent and they're going to complain. And they're going to say, agent, that person was just rude. I can't believe that my insurance company will treat me that bad. And then you're like, well, I'm not your insurance company, I'm an independent. Well, guess what? You are that insurance company when you walk out into that person's house. Even if you are an independent, you are representing that insurance company. So they assume that you are either an employee or you're the adjuster for this insurance company. They don't understand that independent role thing at all. All they know is you are the place that came out to inspect their house or their car, and you're the first person they've seen. And the only other person they know is the agent. So if that person complains to the agent, well, that agent is going to get all over you, and what they're going to do is they're going to call the manager of the claims department, and they're going to put in a complaint. And guess what? You want to see some serious fire happen? You get an agent that's mad and calling up that claims manager. Well, that claims manager is going to hear a boatload of information about how miserable you are, that you swore at the insured, that you threatened them, that you you broke their lawn chair on their back porch. And I mean, all these lies are going to come widen from that agent to that manager at the insurance carrier. Well, then this manager at the insurance carrier is now going to call your firm manager and is going to tell this wonderful, elaborated story about how miserable you are. Well, then it's going to go back to me. My manager is going to call me or whatever, and he's going to say, we just got a major complaint from an agent about an insured that you went to inspect, and just wanted to talk to you about it. Well, all of a sudden, the greatest thing is that your firms, if they're professional enough, they're handling this very professional. They know it's gone through several people before it actually gets back to the truth. And they're going to say, the insured is saying this, why don't you tell me your story? And then if I tell them the whole story, it's normally like 99% different than what they're from the agent. And so we go through this kind of cooling down stage where everybody's only getting to hear what actually happened. It goes back then to the manager of the carrier, and the carrier says, yeah, I can see how that would be blown out of proportion, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, the whole reason I share this story with you guys is that it's kind of like that game. I don't know if you guys have ever played where you all sit in a hole and you whisper something into somebody's ear, and then they whisper the next person, they whisper the next person. It goes all the way around the circle, gets back to this person, and it's absolutely nothing even similar to what the first person said. It's so common. So the more people it travels through and gets the story told to, it's warped, it gets changed, it gets exaggerated. And all of a sudden, you swore at the customer when you never said a thing of the sort. It happens a lot. But I don't want to have those conversations with my manager, who I'm trying to get work from this firm. I don't want them having these conversations with the carrier. The carrier doesn't want to be having those conversations with the managers, and the carrier doesn't want to have conversations with the insured, because it makes everybody upset. And so that's the point that I want to make sure that I go over the top in being cordial and being super kind, patient with the old ladies that seem to take about a half an hour to get from end of the house to the other end of the house, and talk about their cat and their dog and their friend while we're in the conversation of moving towards figuring out why we have a water in the house. I've had endless stories like that where people are just, they're hard to communicate with. And so we have to have that extraordinary patience with them as to not disturb them or make them feel unimportant. So, and the same thing goes like when we're in catastrophe. These people have had major disaster happen to them, and they're frustrated, and they just want results. They want their house back to normal. They got water coming in their house, they got a roof missing, whatever, lawn chairs, fence down, their dog's running all over the neighborhood because it doesn't have a fence, safety fence up, and they just want things back to normal. So your job as an adjuster is to come in there and just ease their nerves and calm them down and give them the best service you can, knowing that if it gets in that circle and comes back to you, you're going to be paying for it. So how we got into this conversation was talking about blackballing. So if that firm keeps getting repetitive complaints from the carrier about you from different insureds, you're going to get in trouble. And how you're going to get in trouble is that firm is then going to say, man, this guy is just really causing a lot of riff in the world. And I don't know if we really want that kind of exposure over and over again for our firm. And so what they're going to do is they might have that conversations at the beginning with you, like trying to get the specifics. And if they find out, did do something kind of wrong, you probably were a little impatient with them, then they're going to have that meeting in their firm, and they're going to go, we seem to be getting a fair bit of repeat complaints with this adjuster. I think we need to kind of look for another one in that area. And that's what's going to happen. This is how they move you out, guys. They don't blackball you and say, call you up and say, we're not using you anymore. They just don't assign claims as much to you anymore. So what you'll see, and if it's happened to you guys, put a chat, let me know in the chat if it's happened to you and you feel like your claim volume's gone down on a specific carrier when you started working for them. It's possible that you have been moved aside, or another guy has been slipped in that does a little better work, a little better, customer service, And then they're going to be easing you out of the primary and maybe putting you as a secondary. And that happens a lot. All right, Rajar. Sorry, this is a strange question. What do you think about Netanyahu and an ICC being an IC fugitive? You know, I'm sorry, I don't know the story. Yeah, it is kind of a weird question. Relate to insurance at all? ICC fugitive. I don't know what that is. Maybe you can explain, Roger. I don't mind answering questions I can answer for, but I'm not sure how that would relate to insurance. Anyways, any other questions, you guys? Yeah, so I think it's just real important for you guys to remember you're representing you, you're representing the firm, and you're representing the insurance company when you come up to that door. So you just definitely want to keep that top notch. Be the best you can be all the time. Don't give the insured an opportunity to give you a bad name or to talk bad about you to their agent, because it will burn you in the tail fast. So we were going to talk about what to do in slow season, some other things for those who maybe didn't show up at the beginning of the live. We are looking at all the things that you can do while things are slow with claims. It's going to be looking for work, making sure that you got your resume updated, do the maintenance on your cars, make sure everything is ready for that. Also, the other thing is going to be getting more licenses and training. And again, that comes back to, hey, if you were on a catastrophe and you just felt like, hey, I was just lost in the catastrophe, we'll figure out why. Why were you struggling on the catastrophe? Was it your estimating skills? Was it that you didn't know how to look up items in Xactimate to write your estimates? I do sell some macros, which macros are a way of speed creating estimates. So for instance, we're creating a roof. I have a macro that's one line item. It says 30-year laminate shingle replace. And it might actually have the carrier listed at the front. So depending on the carrier you use, but I also have a generic one too. But it'll have every possible item that you could potentially have on a roof system, all saved into a one-line item macro. And so all you gotta do is double click on the macro, it drops all those line items in one time into the estimate. And now all you have to do is go line by line and change the numbers. So let's say you have vents instead of 0, or if you have 2 HVAC vents instead of 0. So I put everything as 0 and then go through and just change numbers. Maybe you don't have any flashing damage, so you're going to take the flashing line out, highlight it and delete it. So the macros will speed up your estimate writing tenfold. And I do this for everything. I do it for all your interior damage, siding damage, windows, trim, flooring, tile, bathrooms. And then same thing like a fire, and you had to replace every item in the entire house. I've got one that's got as many things I can remember in the house. And you just go through and edit plus minus the items that are listed in the macro, but you can start to write estimates very, very quickly instead of having to individually look up each line item. That was the problem when I first started adjusting, is it took me forever to find the line items that needed to be in the estimate. And so wouldn't it be good to have already these items already listed? So if I'm doing a roof, it's already, every item's already in there. You just decide whether you need it or not and delete it or add the number in there. So I ended up creating this whole list of about 400 macros and putting it into a set that I can sell you for $49, which is super cheap. And it allows you then to speed write. I've sold a ton of these guys, and I've only had 2 negative comments out of 700 or 800 that I've sold so far, maybe. Bunch. Actually, way more than that. Yeah, actually, I've sold way more than that. But I've lost track of how many. I have 700 a year, I think I sell. So anyways, great. Obviously very helpful to people, and I still sell them every day. So if you are lacking on your skills, definitely pick those up. It's a lifesaver. I actually bought some from a guy when I first started, and I paid $40 or $50 for only those. That's how valuable they are. They are truly a game changer when it comes to writing estimates. So definitely pick them up. Do I have a timeline for a level 1 course release date? Yes, Curtis. I am working on the last 2 videos probably tomorrow, and then I have to edit 4 videos. and it takes about 3 hours to edit each video. So I'm hoping by the end of next week, maybe. That's a hopeful dream, but I'm hoping, depending on how things go, that maybe I can have it ready by the end of next week, and then I'll get that one out. And that way you guys can get started on level 1, and then I'll get going level 2, and then maybe get that out in another month or so after that. But it will work out well for you to take this course. It really, and it'll help you in your adjusting too. I realize as I look back at the videos, it's not just about, hey, button does this button does that. I'm actually teaching you how to be an adjuster in that. It's kind of like a combination adjuster course and Xactimate course kind of built into one. So, oh, you're welcome, Curtis. It's been a long time in the making. I probably should have done it long ago. I've had so many people write me and say, well, when are you going to do this? They wanted me to make an adjuster course, and I was like, that's kind of hard. And so being centered around Xactimate kind of gets all the stories of adjusting in there as well, and all the scenarios that you could be using the tools for, and what scenario you'd be using in the real adjusting world. So it's going to be really helpful. And hopefully you won't be too bored one, because they are long. They are long videos. Alrighty, so so how many people are going on a catastrophe or currently went on a catastrophe? Why don't you guys put 1 for yes or a 2 for no? If you were deployed on this last hurricane, whether it was Helene or Milton. Or maybe you get deployed to go up north to the snow. Who knows? That's going to be quite an event. Okay, so 1 yes, 2 for no. Very good. Anybody else? And Ad Never Calling, did you tell me where you went? And I was going to look up here and see in the notes if you did tell me where you went on your deployment. Tell me where you guys went also. 1 for yes, I got deployed, or 2, I did not get deployed. Or maybe you even got the call. Oh, you're welcome, Dave. We'll see you on the next one if you've got to go. Yeah, so you guys got a call and they said, no, we don't have any space, but we'll keep you on standby. Did you guys get any calls like that too? Because that's a better thing as well. Okay, Kremet, welcome. Haven't seen your name before. Hi, Daniel. Does HAG win Hail Cert make you stand out, or just another certification for knowledge? Yeah, there you go. You live in Texas, oh, you lucky dog. You're gonna be bringing on the Hail big time. So good. So Kremet, that's a really good question about the HAG certification. HAG is extremely expensive to maintain, meaning you have to pay yearly to keep it updated, and it's expensive to take. I would say, I personally would recommend you not take it. I have never had anyone ask for HAG if I was HAG certified. And if you look at, in my experience, no matter what I say on the roof, meaning after I've looked at this, I've given my opinion, I've told them how I feel the shingle, if it's repairable or not, all these different things. In my skill, as 35 years of construction business and being on roofs and knowing materials, they don't give a rip about what I say. And having a HAG certification is not going to make any sense. A HAG certification is really great if you have an engineering degree and you become an engineer, so that when they don't want to listen to me and don't want to listen to my opinion, they're going to call up an engineer, and he's going to have HAG certification. He's going to have all these other certifications that are going to prove he's expert at being able to determine whether something is hail damaged or not, or repairable or not. That's going to be where it's going to be valuable. But as an adjuster, that HAG certification will do you nothing but just give you the knowledge that you could probably get from just inspecting a ton of roofs. Once you see a bunch of hail damage, like I would look at books. I'd look at, they got a hail prep book that's, I think it's, I can't remember what the book is. But anyways, yeah, they have a hail prep book that teaches you what hail looks like, what hail doesn't look like, what manufactured damage looks like, what it doesn't look, like so on and so forth. But you can get a lot of that online as well. Just look at YouTube videos and see people who are inspecting roofs and saying, this is manufactured damage, I'm gonna take you a video of it. because this doesn't look like hail. And they're great videos because they'll do some great close-ups and you'll be able to see why they think it's manufactured damage versus real. And honestly, I think truly where the experience comes in is by just literally seeing hail from all over the different countries, like different states, not countries, but if you go to handle hail, and you go to Oklahoma and handle hail, you go to Minnesota and handle hail, Maryland handle hail, then you're down and maybe you go to Michigan, and then you go to Carolina, then you go to Florida, then you go to Tennessee. You see all these different hails because you've been deployed to all these different places on these hurricane events or hail events. You're going to be able to recognize hail like the back of your hand. And to see lots of different types, whether it's jagged or whether it's smooth, what it does. And I think that's the expertise that you will develop as an adjuster so that when you go to write your report, you'll be able to then say, based on my knowledge of how many houses I have seen hail damage, this damage does not appear to be hail damage. This appears to be manufactured damage. And if you've put a statement on that, based on your experience, based on your knowledge, based on your 10,000 houses you've seen, or you're going to come to a point where you can put that in writing and feel confident that if they called you to court, you could sit on a stand and also say that. They would consider you an expert by the time you have, 6,000 houses under your belt as far as hail damage inspections. And that's only just going to come with time. You're going to be able to notice the difference. And so I've been on roofs where I've seen manufactured damage. And here's the thing, they can't manufacture damage over the entire roof. So you'll see it in one section, and maybe the roof will even take you to that one section. And he'll have his square drawn out, and you'll see a bunch of markings right in that spot. But then you walk over here, and it's there. And it's because he would have to manufacture the whole entire roof in order to create the same markings all over the roof. And no one's going to do that. It's going to take so much time for him to be up there with his golf ball and his sock, walking around banging the roof, or his hammer, or whatever he happens to be using to create this. And then the neighbors are going to go, "What's that again? Man, you've been banging up there for an hour." And they're going to wonder what in the world this guy's doing up on the roof, hitting the hammer on the roof. Well, we're going to be able to, because it's just not going to be consistent across the board. So, yeah, you're welcome. It's incredible. Manufactured damage is very easy to see once you become an experienced adjuster. So you have Xactimate level 1 and 2. Just wanted to make myself more deployable by adding whatever. Absolutely. Take your continuing education courses. Find some on what is it called, ce.org or something like that. That's a really great one to go to. But they take some courses in hand education. Put that on your resume. You take all these extra courses, you get credit for them for your continuing education, and you put on your resume. And by the time you got 100 some out of those courses that are listed on there from years and years of experience, it's going to look great. Nikki, welcome. So where did you go, Nikki? Where did you get deployed? And JJ, where did you get deployed? Welcome. Tell me where you guys got deployed. What are the must-have tools you have deployment to go in any states? Okay, so Kramat, great question. Look at my description. I got a list of all the tools that I carry with me. In the description of these videos, I got a whole list, and I got a link that you can go to Amazon and find them. So yeah, definitely want to find out what I use. That's every tool. I haven't changed my tool bag in years. That's what I use. And same thing, got rope and harness stuff on there. So if you guys are scared to climb the roof was when I first got started, I still carry my stuff with me. So in case I run into a roof that's crazy. Very good, JJ. That's what I was. Where did they deploy you in South Carolina? I was in Greenville. So I didn't know if you were close by that area. We were hanging the same area. And then you were probably, I was in Chimney Rock for North Carolina. Couldn't get up there to Asheville at all. So I ended up going to Florida for Milton, just because I was so frustrated trying to get around North Carolina. I did do some stuff in South Carolina. It wasn't too bad, but so many trees down. It was just, it seemed like handling those trees. So any other questions? Anybody else in here that was deployed or got the call to be deployed? Put a 1 if you were deployed. Tell me where you deployed to and how was the event. How did it go when you guys were deployed? Nikki, how, and JJ, how was the deployment? Do you feel like you were lacking in a certain area? Do you feel like there was something there you could have done better? Do you feel like it went great and you were so thankful to be there? Tell me your thoughts on how it went. That's going to be the dictation of really how you improve as an investor. Is you want to be able to recognize your weak spots and work towards changing those, whether it's through more instruction or training, getting better on Xactimate, policy more, learning interpersonal skills with talking with people a little better. I mean, there's lots of things that we can improve just on just finding out you struggled in one event. Maybe it was that you were not handling as many claims as you wish you could, or maybe you were slow on climbing roofs. I do a live Xactimate every Sunday. I was on vacation for a little bit. I didn't do it the last couple Sundays. I did it last weekend and the 2 weekends. Well, then I was gone for a storm. I'd done it for 2 months. But yeah, so every Sunday at 4 Eastern is what I plan on doing if it works out. And I'll let you know if it messes up for Christmas or whatever we got coming up. But typically I'm gonna try and do live because I think it helps you guys. It's a good way to talk about some stuff, and you guys give some good questions. If you don't see it on my videos, then you can ask it here, and then maybe I can make a video about it. So certainly gives me some ideas for future videos. Matt, welcome. I'm so glad you guys came. Everybody is welcome here. I got some lagging. Look at that. There is some lagging. That is so weird. Okay, so desk work, in office, mobile, or mobile, bam. Okay, desk work, in office, very good. How did you like that, Nikki, as far as doing desk work? Was it your first appointment, or have you been before? Because that desk work is great for knowledge on policy, and oh man, it was great. I just working at the desk because I learned so much on policy and handling stuff. It was really good talking to people. And JJ, Helene was great. Only complaint was lodging, 5 different Airbnbs. It was control. Oh yeah, that was kind of crazy. I did stay at an Airbnb too. We lost power and internet in the stupid Airbnb. So Xactimate does not use in auto. No, they use Mitchell, and there's another software. Mitchell's a cool software they use for auto. I got Mitchell certified a long time. No, that's great. I love auto. Auto to me was great, but I did a lot of I did desk work, and I was doing liability at first. That was basically car wrecks and determining liability, recorded statements, lots of talking on the phone, and you know, looking at police reports and trying to determine damage. You know, not necessarily damage, but who was at fault. So that was liability, and then talking to the other insurance companies, other adjusters, negotiating fault. And then I moved to the total loss department, which was then handling cars that had been damaged so much that they had to be totaled. So then I was doing emissions on vehicles, talking to a lot of estimators, a lot of custom stuff, bikes and all that. And then I moved into the investigation unit that went into investigating crime with stolen vehicles, and endless great stories of finally our justice system working out and finding people that were, you know, wrecking their cars and then hiding their cars in storage buildings because they wanted to say their car got stolen because they got in a wreck and they couldn't afford the payments, and the stories were endless. It was quite humorous. And then busting people, because I was made by the fact that I knew they stole their car and I just couldn't prove it at the time. So then, you know, I did a little investigation in the background, finding out that the store building guy was one of the guys they just fired was the boyfriend of the insured, and he was the inside guy at this building, and it's just endless stories. It was the biggest soap opera in the world. It was really funny, but then it ended up, the lady who was the insured ended up calling me back and just swearing her head off at me because she said they busted her. And she was under arrest for stealing her own car and for insurance fraud. So I got her good. But anyways, it was just funny. Let's see. Can anyone get certified, State Farm, etc. on their own? You have to wait for the company training. Yeah, you have to wait for them. Yeah, the firms actually offer the State Farm training as well. That's really where you get it from. Look into Alacrity. Alacrity has normally tons of courses and they do it pretty regularly. I know a bunch of them do, so look it up. But yeah, State Farm has to be done through a firm, get the certification, auto and property, do them both. And then the great thing, if you go with a big firm, they actually will help you find work. So once they find out you're certified, they'll help you get deployed. So it's really cool. That's why I would go with the big firm. So Nikki, first appointment, learned a lot. Oh, very good. You're right, Nikki. Policy is amazing. There's so many ins and outs. It's the most amazing thing that once you get the backbone of policy and understand insurance, it will last you through ever. I mean, I remember the policy that I learned so much back in the day, and most of your policies are very similar for all insurance companies. So it's not like you're going to be blindsided by some weird policy. I mean, some have little tricky things, but they're only in your details. But it's so nice now, like when I walk into a house now, and I know, see, I think pretty good, that I can walk now into a house and I know exactly what I'm writing on this estimate because I know what's going to be covered and what's not. And so it really helps. It's the bone of every inspection. So you just take that knowledge that you have, store it, learn more about it. And a lot of your continuing education will also teach you some policy too. So as you keep renewing your licenses, you'll get a chance to learn more about that as well. Very good. Pilot is actually a great training. Yeah, Pilot is great training. I work for Pilot, really great company, so definitely a good one to go for as well. Wardlaw, I worked for them. They were really good. They were also State Farm's certified company as well. So yeah, so the bigger ones you go with, you're going to find lots of opportunity with them. They're going to provide work. There's definitely an opportunity there for sure. How was the auto adjusting for you financially compared to property? Not sure I understand the question, JJ. So auto adjusting finance compared to, oh, so you're saying like how much you make? Well, see, I was different. I was desk adjusting with auto. And so I was making like $32 an hour, 10, for 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it was like 100,000 a year. So it was good, but the deployments were like 3 months, and then you had to get renewed if you were decent enough. And so then I ended up getting a year, like it went on and on for a year contract and then 6-month contract. It just kept on adding. So as long as you were good, you would actually get renewed in your contract, and they would just, I think the short contracts are done on purpose so they can weed out ones, people looking for a free ride, making 100 grand a year. And just doing nothing. So your typical employee scenario. So if you're really good and you're putting in some serious work ethic, you're going to get renewed on that contract and you can stay pretty busy. I was literally deployed auto for 2 years straight. I never took a break off because they just kept renewing my track. So that's how it worked. It was just totally awesome. All right, and as far as property goes, I love it because now I'm at home. Now there's 2 different options. You could be a desk adjuster and you could be at some other city sitting at a desk with property claims. But the ultimate goal, I think, for every adjuster, personally, is whether it's auto or property, is to go home and be handling the claims locally. And that's called daily claims. So that's the ultimate goal that everybody would want to get at. And then eventually be able to catastrophe work too, which means you disappear for a cat for a month or so and then come back home and go right back into your daily work. And you can do that for damage on cars and traffic accidents and all this other stuff for auto. So you can definitely do that in auto as well as property. That's the ultimate goal. And that's staying at home. They're assigning you claims from all different insurance companies in your email. Make your own schedule. You work as much as you want or as little as you want. And you keep on adding firms in so you can work more and you can stay busy and you can make an incredible income as a daily adjuster. So that's the dream world. Sleep in your own bed, run life normal, and also make really good money doing it too. Is it possible to get employment year round or is it more for hurricane season? Yeah, that's what I was just mentioning, Kermax, that deployments for auto can be year round, but it all just depends on their workload and their prerogative to let you go or extend your contract. And what I mean is there's several different locations for State Farm, and I heard, and this happened quite, I heard, but I was up in Indiana, but I started in Maryland, and then I got transferred to Indiana with State Farm in their office there. And then some other people got transferred from Indiana to Texas, and some went to Atlanta, and some went to Arizona. So you can be moved all over the country, these different venues, because that's where their need for that particular deployment. They'd say, if hey, you want more work, well, your job now in Arizona at that State Farm. So it really, you could be deployed all year long, but you may be moving around a bunch. So what I did personally, and it worked out well for me, is I took my family with me. And at that time, we had kids, but we were homeschooling our kids. And so we could take our kids with us. My wife would stay home and teach the kids while I was off, 10 hours away from the house. Came home, we were spending every day together, every evening together. And we'd have lunch together, and it was fun, and it worked for it. So that's an opportunity that works. You just have to have the flexibility. And I think that's kind of what gave me the jump start, probably more than most adjusters, was my flexibility to say, hey, wherever you got work, I'm willing to go. And, it just worked out. And it was a good plan. It worked out for me. I just had to sacrifice for a couple of years, doing some crazy stuff, and just taking every opportunity that was there, and then the doors kept opening. And so I tell people that. I say, well, think about it. If this is your own business, so let's say you have this donut shop that's sitting on the side of the road. You're opening up a donut shop, and you have your heart and soul into this donut shop, but you don't do any advertising. You don't go stand out in the front door and wave people around, give them free samples. You don't get on YouTube and make videos about your donut shop. You don't do any social media stuff. You just stand inside your store waiting for people to show up. How many people are going to show up at your donut shop? You might get the odd person that drives by and pops in, but pretty much in another year or so, you're going to be out of business because you're going to be broke. So the flip side is a person who puts all the effort they can to that business to make it succeed. Okay, you're gonna stay up late, create brochures, and you're gonna go around and post those in every grocery store, and you're gonna be giving free contests out for, hey, count how many donuts I have in my store, and we'll give you a dozen for free, or whatever. All these crazy things you're gonna be doing to get people to come to your store. Saturday we got 40% off donuts. Come on in. We buy get two free. Whatever. You're gonna be doing all sorts of things to create business in your donut shop to the point where those people are gonna go, that is the best donut shop in town. And all of a sudden, in a couple of years of doing that, you're going to have so many people coming into your donut shop, you're going to be sold out in 4 hours, and you'll be closing your doors, or you're going to be hiring people to make more donuts. So that's kind of how you see your adjuster business, is that you've got to put some effort into this for a couple of years, just going crazy with effort to make it the best you can. Then eventually it'll snowball, and it'll start taking getting you benefits and calls for work, and you won't have to be always seeking for work. It's going to come naturally to you. So I just got to keep that mindset, is that you're building a business, and it's going to take some effort and time, but eventually it's going to succeed, and you're going to reap the benefits of it. I think many people quit. They give up. They go, hey, nobody's calling me. And I'm like, well, how many people have you called? How many times have you pursued to find work? And their answer 99% of the time is, well, I thought they would call me. No, that's not going to work. So you've got to pursue this business to be successful. Most state if you have most state licenses. Oh, okay, so you're saying kind of like, is it possible to deploy year-round if you have most state licenses? Yeah, the more licenses you have, then the more work obviously you're going to get, because then you can start handling California wildfires, California earthquakes, mudslides. You've got the northern states for snowstorms. You've got Colorado for hail. You've got the southern states for hurricanes. You've got and then after you get 5 years experience, you can do flood. And then you're starting to work in every single state, because somebody's going to have a flood somewhere that's going on, depending on the year, but there's always going to be flood stuff. I don't particularly care for flood. only because I don't like the mess. I walk around and write an estimate in a pigsty, whereas with most property claims that I'm dealing with, even if there's water damage, is most of the time it's already clean before I get there because mitigation's already there. But in a flood scenario, it's such a bad mess. A lot of times mitigation has not done a lot of the demo, and so you're walking through a lot of mess and trying to write for all these contents and stuff. It's very difficult, very, very difficult. All right, any other questions? Give you guys another 5 minutes or so of questions, and then I'll probably head out of here if we're not going to get any more questions. But great questions, guys, so far, and I'm really thankful for them. Our numbers seem to be a little down. It's because of the holidays. Everybody's either full from Thanksgiving or still stuffing them or still celebrating Thanksgiving. so that does affect the numbers. Normally we got a good 20 or 30 people in here. Most of the time I have questions left and right. So. But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and let's wrap up, guys. But hey, I'm going to be working on my Xactimate videos, continuing to get these going for you guys. But yeah, we're gonna get that level 1 and level 2 certification course done as soon as possible, so you guys will be able to get started in learning that. But thank you guys so much. Yes, I do manage my licenses with NIPR. Actually, that's how I order my licenses. I actually go through Sercon. Sercon is the one that's managing my licenses. You're welcome today. Yeah, and if you guys don't forget to hit the like before you leave, if you guys take off, and look in my description for other things that are important on this channel. And I will continue to post videos for you guys, and I'm thankful so much for your support. So you guys have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving again. Take care.